Okay, so this time the topic is about actually file management, no. Most commonly, no, we just simply ignore the file management, which is too important for operating system. So the file management, specifically the file name convention, and so on, no. We could consider that files should be named consistently. We could able to be sure that the file name should be short but descriptive. We could able to avoid the special character spaces and so on and so forth. Okay, for us to give more details about the file organizations, the database, and the file content, let us all welcome our first presenter for this morning. Go ahead.
Good morning po, sir, and good morning, classmates. My report is file management. File management or file name collect related information that is recorded on secondary storage such as magnetic disk, magnetic tapes, and optical disk. In general, a file is a sequel of bits, bytes, lines, or record whose meaning is defined by the file's creator and user. File naming. File File naming is a file convention or a framework for naming your file in a way that describes what they contain and how they relate to other files. File naming convention help you stay organized and make it easier to identify your files. By consistently organizing your files, you will able to quickly find what you need. And a share or collaborative group file sharing setting. It helps others or easily navigate your work. It is essential to establish a convention before you begin collecting files or data in order to prevent a backlog or unorganized content that will lead to misplaced or lost data. The file name of each file must be unique within the directory where it is stored. This ensures the file also has unique fat name in the file system. For example, file name plus the file extension macasa.doc. These are the common file extension. Operations that can be performed on files. Create a blank file is created. Delete. The purpose of this system call is to delete this file. Open. Open a file either for reading or writing. Close. When a file is no longer accessed. Read. When it's a file is only to be read. Write. To write some data on a file. Append. To add some data to end of the file. Rename to rename the file. A file can be read-only, hidden, system file, and so on. By setting its reading only flag to one its hidden flag to one its system flag to one its so on. File access methods. Sequential access in the access method, data records are retrieved in the same order in which they have been stored on the disk. Data stored on magnetic disk. It is also records or access in some sequence. The information in the files is processed in order, one order after the other. This access method is the most primitive one. Example is the compiler usually access files in this fashion. Next is random access. In case of random access, the record is researched from the disk based on its direct address information. The technique used in hashing every record is associated with the key number to process the address calculation. Hash function is used to obtain absolute address in particular record. These are the sequential access and the random access. Next, index access method. Index file approach is helpful with multiple attribute fields like in data files. In these files, every field is associated with an index key. While querying, the data index key is kept on the memory and related records are fetched from the disk. This is the example of the index access method. Next is the directory structure. Directory structure contains information about files. It is used as a mean to group of files owned by a user. The hierarchy directory system. These are the root and user directory. Next, access path. Two possible methods for access path are absolute path name. It is listing of the directories and files from the root directory to the intended file. For example, the path windows/program/spss.exe or xl means that the root directory contains a subdirectory Windows, which further contains a subdirectory programs that contains an executable SSPS.exe. Second, the relative path name. This is used to the concept of current directory, also known as working directory. A user can specify a particular directory as his current working directory and all the path name instead of being specified from the root directory are specified relative to the working directory. For example, if the current working directory is the user core, then the file whose absolute path is user core student can be referred simply as student. Next, directory operation. Create, delete, open dir, close dir, and rename. Create, a directory is created. Delete is a directory deleted. Open dir, directories can be opened for reading it. Close dir, when a directory has been read, it should be closed to free up internal table space in main memory. Rename, directories can be renamed just like files. File protection. File system often contain information is highly valuable to their user, and protecting this information against unauthorized usage is therefore a major concern of all the file systems. Next is the file protection through access control. These are the following file operations that can be controlled: read, write, append, delete, list, rename, edit, and copy. Read file, write the file, append the file, delete a file, list the name and attributes all the file, rename a file, changing and contents of a file, make a copy of a file. Access control list. This list may contain the username and the types of access allowed for each user. The operating system checks this access control list associated with the file whenever a user requests an access to particular file. But one limitation of access control list is their length, so we can create group. Next, classify the user of a file into 3 types. There are the owner, group, and universe. The owner is the user who created the file. Group is a set of a user who is sharing the file and need a similar access. Universe, remaining user in the system constitute the universe. The file protection through password. Files can be protected by a password. The owner of a file can control its access by assigning a password. Thus, only those users who know the password can access the particular file. And that would be all po. Thank you.
Okay, so again, a file management system is a set of system software that provides services to users and application in the use of files, now including file access, directory maintenance, and access control. So the file management system is typically viewed as a system service that itself is served by the operating system rather than being part of the operating system itself. So however, in any system, at least part of the file management function is performed by the operating system. Again, a file consists of a collection of records. The way in which these records may be accessed determines its logical organizations and to some extent its physical organization on this. If a file is primarily to be processed as a whole, then a sequential file organization is as simplest and most appropriate. So if sequential access is needed but random access to individual file is also desired, then an index sequential file may be the best performance. So if access to the file is principally at random, then an index file or hash file may be the most appropriate. So whatever file structure is chosen, a directory service is also needed. And this allows files to be organized in a hierarchical fashion. And this organization is useful to the user in keeping track of files, and it's useful to the file management system in the providing access control and other services to users. So file records, even when of fixed size, generally do not conform of the size of a physical disk block. No, accordingly, some sort of blocking strategy is needed. So a trade-off among complexity, performance, and space utilization determines the blocking strategy to be used. So a key functions of any file management scheme is the management of disk space. So part of these functions is the strategy for allocating these blocks to a file. So a variety of methods have been employed and a variety of data structures have been used to keep track of the allocation of each file. So in addition, the space on a disk that has not been allocated must be managed, and this latter function primarily consists of maintaining a disk allocation table indicating which blocks are free. So that's it for this topic.